Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, our guest is Brian Carney, who is the co-founder of RiversEdge Advisors, LLC. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, Gary. Thanks a lot for having me on. I appreciate it.
So tell us, how did you get started in the financial industry?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I didn't go to school to focus on economics or business. I actually went to college to be a physical therapist. I took all the prereqs to go to physical therapy school. And then I did an internship and I absolutely hated it. So I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I thought, all right, I'll be a pharma rep. I'll be a pharmaceutical sales rep, real popular at the time, but I couldn't even get an interview because I had very little experience. So I was down to two jobs. I was either going to sell copy machines or I was going to be a financial advisor. And I did a ride along with the guy that sold copy machines for one day. And I said, I don't think I can do that. So I ended up becoming a financial advisor. And my second week in the business was September 11th, 2001. Yeah. So not the best time to start in a financial planning career. And really the only reason I took the job as a financial advisor was because the recruiter told me it was the hardest thing that I would ever do. And I sort of wanted to prove her wrong. She happened to be right about that, but it is one of those things that I do think about from time to time.
That's great. So where were you kind of throughout your career that got you into, now working for yourself, basically?
Yeah, it's interesting because I worked for a guy who once said that people start out in this career and they start out as an advisor and then they become a business owner, but then they finally become an entrepreneur. So I started out, the first place I started, when you get into this world, you can either go down one of two channels. You can either go down what they call the brokerage houses, like the Morgan Stanley Merrill Lynch's, or you can go on the insurance side. There really isn't an entry point in either from a different avenue. So I actually ended up being on the insurance side. I told people that I was a financial advisor for about 7 years before I realized I was actually an insurance agent. I guess I was a slow learner. We did financial planning, but a lot of it was centered around life insurance. So a lot of it was product based and it took me a little bit of time. So I left that place. I went to another place that was more of a boutique firm, and I had a mentor there, and I learned from him the way to really design a fee-based financial planning investment management business. I was really interested in answering people's questions about finances, things that kept them up at night. And I told him that there is a huge market, and this is a classic, baby boomer versus Gen Xer kind of going head to head a little bit. And I said, there's a huge market. People want to pay for advice. And he said, I'm telling you, they don't. So I said, okay, well, I have to leave. So I went out and, with my partner, we started this financial planning firm, and we really spend our time helping answer people's questions.
Right. That's kind of a different way of, kind of jumping out there. Because lots of times it's like, oh yeah, build up my clientele, and then I decided to kind of go out. So
yeah,
so you took your two best friends and get started, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it ended up being.
So now that you've been doing this for a while, what is it that you wish you knew, that you know now that you wish you knew it back then?
Yeah, I always say that in life, you should get 3 visits from your future self when you're in your 20s. Like you should get a visit from when you're 25 from yourself when you're 45. And I think about this a lot. I realize that once you start helping people answer real questions that they have, you can start to change the trajectory of their life. I know that sounds a little bit brash and maybe a little bit over the top, but people have tons of financial anxiety. And if you can just answer questions for them, the answer to that question could be, maybe they want to say, can I retire at 65? If you tell them no, that's actually the second best answer. People get paralyzed by the unknown. And I think if you tell them, yes, that's great, they're happy. But if you tell them no, you can say, you can't, but this is the way you get there, or this is how you have to change your goals. I actually think that gives people a little bit more peace of mind. So if I could go back in time and say, stop focusing on investments and products and investment returns and start focusing on solutions and providing answers, that's when you're really going to see things start to happen. The sooner you can do that, the better off you be. And more importantly, the better off your clients will be.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think lots of times people do get paralyzed from the unknown, and they just don't know kind of where to go, where to start and stuff like that. So lots of times, that is the best thing is to be able to actually answer some questions for them and get them to kind of open up. And I always tell my clients, it's like, look, I need you to be open and honest with me and everything, because, if I get you going down this road and you didn't tell me about something, it's going to be
garbage in, garbage out
to make a turn. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What are some of the questions that you wish your clients were asking you, or potential clients asking you when they come in and meet with you?
I think my industry, and sometimes I'm a little hard on my industry, but my industry makes it very difficult for a client to really understand A, what they need, and B, what they're getting. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, I think if you asked 100 people, 100 clients, what a financial planner is/does, you might get 75 different answers. Right. I think a lot of people think that a financial advisor spends their time with investments. My job is to pick the best funds for someone to be in. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Obviously, that is something that we do handle, but that is, if you go down the list of importance, that's like 8th or 9th on the list. Okay. I think the one thing that people need to really understand, and the one question that I would love for more people to ask me is, what's the difference between hiring a financial planner and an investment manager, and how does that help me? So I always say, if you hire an investment manager, they just really look at an investment account. You hand them their IRA or your old 401k and you say, go make me as much money as you possibly can. Well, what does that mean for them long term? What does their account getting 8% meet for their goals? If we're managing a portfolio to a stated benchmark, people always pick the S&P 500. Sometimes that's completely irrelevant. What we want to do is we want to see our clients manage their portfolios to their financial plan, to a particular goal, tie it to a particular goal. And that really helps them understand the importance behind why they're saving their money and why they're investing it. And then the second question I wish people asked more was, what are my all-in costs for investing and for hiring a financial planner? And again, our industry does tend to make it difficult for someone to understand that and to really unpeel that onion. Obviously, if someone hands me $1 million and we charge them a fee. The going rate in our industry, now it could be, I'm just giving you sort of a ballpark number, is around 1%. But if my firm charges you 1% and then I put you in mutual funds that charge you another 0.75%, your all-in cost is 1.75. You don't see the 0.75% on your statement, but it is there. And I wish it was easier for people to understand the true transparency behind their investing. So when we talk to clients, we really want them to understand their all-in costs. We say it again and again. And if you want to talk about getting even more complicated, if you look into a business's 401k plan, it makes it even more difficult for the transparency to come out. You got a lot of hands in that pot. So just to be able to see someone say, it's costing me X amount of dollars per year to work with an advisor, I think that money's worth it. I think it helps them feel a little bit more comfortable in their decision.
Right. So, and you really have explained here, kind of how you help these clients, overcome some of their fears.
Yeah.
What are some of the other fears besides price that the clients are running into, and how do you help them overcome those fears?
Yeah, I think when you look at what people typically come to us for, there is one thing that keeps them up at night. They'll come to us and they'll say, I want this, 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 this. You know, there's a bunch of different things that I have on my checklist. And then I'll say, if I could only help you with one thing, what would that be? And I think a lot of it, if you really boil it down, they want to know the answer to one specific question. I would say there's a top three. Number one, can I retire? Number two, can I send my kids to college? And number three, if I own a company, when do I know and how do I sell my business? Right. So when you look and you really start diving into those things, those are things that keep people up at night. But the easiest solution for all of that is to stay organized and create a plan. So most of the time, people don't have a plan to achieve those goals. Those are the questions that I always use a super lame analogy, and I always apologize before I use it. But a financial advisor is not that dissimilar to a personal trainer. You know, if you go to someone, you say, I want to lose 25 pounds and I want to run a marathon in four hours. All right. Well, you can go online and print all of that out. You know, you can find training programs on Google, but I think what people really need is accountability. Mm-hmm. They need to sit down with someone every year and say, am I still on track? Am I still on pace? Am I still going in the right direction? And if you're not, they do need someone to kick them and push them back back onto the road and make sure they're still staying on pace. So I think when they have a specific, just to sort of summarize my answer is, they have a specific question in mind and they want the answer to that. And a lot of it is because there's a little bit of an anxiety about not being organized and not having an overall strategy to be able to achieve that goal.
Right. You talk about the different, questions that the clients have and things like that. And you just said it. It's like, well, you can go online and print that off.
Right.
And
yeah.
Lots of times that's what people think. It's like, oh, you can just go online and invest your own money.
Yep.
How is it, using a professional like you different from, going online and investing your money online with, the robo service or whatever?
Yeah, I think people ignore one major fact when they contemplate hiring a financial planner. I will be the first to admit, not everyone needs to. There are people who are savvy enough and they don't need us, right? And that's perfectly fine. We don't try to make everyone a client. We want to help people that sort of, I have a job for three reasons. Number one, people don't know how to do this. Number two, people don't have the time or desire to do it. Or number three, a combination of the two, right? So when you really look at going through all of this with people, it's really, not to keep hitting on that organizational part of it, but the lack of organization leads to bad decisions. And what I mean by that is my job, my role in the process with the client is to change behavior. I am a behavioral finance nerd. I love talking about behavioral finance. Why do people make decisions about their money? They have a certain reason, they have a certain feeling about it. So when they work with a financial planner, I think we are able to help take and strip the emotions out of it and really stay tactical and strategic. And I think a lot of times, 2020 is quite possibly the greatest behavioral investing example ever. It's fascinating. You had COVID, you had going into COVID, you had coming out of COVID, then you had the election, and that created a lot of emotions for people. I think sometimes people just need a little bit of a pat on the back and say, I'm freaking out. What do I do? And then you say, and I think they just want someone to know. So I always say when you're creating an investment strategy or a financial plan, you need to create a policy statement, an investment policy statement in times of peace. So in times of war, you can pull it back out and go, okay, it's March 2020, the market's down 28%. What am I going to do? Well, this is what I said I would do. I'm going to stay tactical and strategic. So the biggest reason that someone should hire a planner is to help eliminate the emotion out of decisions, financial decisions.
Yeah, one of the things you keep going back to is a plan, and making sure you have the plan. And just like the beginning of most football games, they have the first 10 plays or 20 plays already scripted.
Yep.
They know what they're doing. So then that way the chaos of the game doesn't take over.
Yep.
And I think that that's something that's very important, not just for individual, but business owners. And, I constantly preach about, look, you need to put a plan together. And, I try to say plan as compared to a budget.
Right.
But, because, nobody wants to do that budget.
Yep.
But the issue is that if you don't plan this out, then how are you if something happens? I mean, again, COVID happened. It's like, okay, well, where can you make that turn, for your business, and how can you change it, on a dime? I know, for us, we didn't have to close down, but we just pivoted to where we did a lot more Zoom calls. We did them anyway, but we did a whole lot more because we weren't able to have the clients in the office.
Exactly.
So I think, I think you're hitting, kind of all the right cylinders there when you're talking about the plan. I think that one of the other things that I try to do with people is help them build their team.
You took the word. I was literally going to say that. Yep. And to your exact point, I always say it sounds obnoxious, but you're at the point where you need a team of people and you need them to work together. You can't have an advisor, a financial advisor, working independent of your accountant.
Correct.
The worst call to get as an advisor is when the accountant calls you and says, "You realized $200,000 of gains and no one told me? I've been doing all this planning." So I couldn't agree with you more that a client is best served when they have three different people, including their attorney, their accountant, and their financial advisor looking at them. I look at tax returns, but I look at them completely different, through a totally different set of glasses than you do. Right. And in order for you to do your job effectively, I need to be able to communicate with you to be able to say, like, hey, we have some issues. Maybe the client sold a business or sold a piece of property that's going to, affect their tax bill negatively. Well, I need to know that before I start making moves in their portfolio. So I could not agree with you more that having a really solid team is a huge part of a successful financial plan.
Yeah, I tell, one of the things I don't want to say I preach, but I constantly remind the clients, it's like, look, it's tax time. Make this your time to do your financial checkup.
Yep.
What changed for you, throughout the year, so forth, because of, and I'm sure you see and have heard all the nightmare stories about somebody not changing their beneficiary form, all of that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at it. And, do you have enough, life insurance? Do you have enough insurance on your house?
Yep.
Is everything covered? It's just one of those things where it's like, looking at that. So from your perspective, how often do you try to get together with your clients to talk to them?
We have a pure open door policy with our clients, so they can call us whenever they want. We require them to meet us at least once a year to review their financial plan. And we start over. And the one thing we tell someone when we do a financial plan for them is I say, the only thing, you can't use the word guarantee often in my business.
Right.
The only guarantee I have is that this financial plan is going to be completely worthless within 12 months. Something's going to be different. Right. COVID's going to happen. You're going to get a new job. You're going to have a baby. You're going to buy a business, whatever it is. So we need to make sure that we stay on track and we update this from scratch every year, right? We need to go through the process to make sure. If you ask me what my goals were last March, versus this March, they're totally different. Right. I have a totally different outlook on life and business and everything after the last year that we've gone through. So you do need to make sure that you do that every single year and just update your plan. We use I'm big into lame analogy. So another lame analogy is it's like sailing across the ocean to the UK. If you head off track early on in your trip, and you never check your compass to get back on track again, you're going to end up somewhere completely different. So again, those annual checkups just nudge you back onto the path that you're trying and make sure that everything's on pace.
Yeah.
And people hate surprises. I know you see that more often than I do, but people hate when they get to, 10 years away from retirement and they go, wait, I don't have enough money to retire at 65. This is my whole goal has been 65. And we're like, yeah, you could have, if you had come to us 10 years before, we could have gotten you on track, you know? So it is, people really hate surprises. I know they really hate when they have an unexpected tax bill.
Oh, yeah. Again, and that's where I think that communication between professionals like us, it's important because, I feel that, it's like, hey, part of it's my responsibility to let you know, or at least have the client let you know, hey, I got, you got these capital loss carry forwards that they can use, or whatever it is, that, hey, did you tell your advisor that, you just inherited, $100,000 from,
Right.
From your mom type thing, just to make sure that, because that's coming on the tax return and so forth. So
yeah,
I
the way sometimes I put it to clients is, I think clients don't understand sometimes what we do, and I think they definitely don't understand what you do sometimes. So
right.
I'll say, one of the things that at the end of the year, you work with your accountant, you gather up your documents, you hand it to him, and then he does the tax return. And I said, well, throughout the year, I'm going to work with your accountant to change the numbers on the papers that we hand to him at the end of the year, but he's going to know what the numbers say already. So it's a much more cohesive strategy and a much more, it is teamwork that makes their lives easy.
Yeah. And I going back to the whole planning piece. And I mean, and that's where it's, if we know that, that what potential income is coming from, passive sources and things like that, we can help, help you write that tax future. Because typically a CPA is a recorder of history.
Yeah.
And so we, here at Small Business Advisors, we really try to make it to where we help you write your tax future. And that a lot of that is talking to guys like you, about our clients and making sure that everybody's on the same page and kind of, rowing the boat and all in the same direction.
I love that. I think that's a huge, sometimes I'll say to a client, I say, to kind of reframe what you said, I say some accountants are very good at forensics, right? They're not good at helping project out. So you need to find an accountant, and you need to find an accounting firm that's going to work with your business to help you, not last year, but in next year and the 5 years that follow. So that's obviously a great thing to hear.
Yeah. So you work with a wide variety of people. And so what's one of the most important things that you've learned in working with such a variety of people?
Yeah. It comes down to, I learned this quote last year, and it sort of sums up what I've been trying to help clients with for 15 years, is complexity is the enemy of execution. When things are overly complex, it paralyzes people. I think sometimes simple doesn't mean not good. It just means simple and straightforward, right? It's not less of a strategy because it's simple. So one of the things that I think is extremely important, and I think the most important thing to help a client and help them empower them to make strong financial decisions, is to help them be totally confident. And you do that by removing the complexity. I will draw the most basic juvenile pictures to explain a super complicated topic. And at the end of the meeting, I'll hand them the paper and they go, "Can I keep that? I want to keep that." I always joke around with the clients and I say, I have a very professional strategy for investments called the layer cake. And it's just having a portfolio that is increasing in value or increasing in risk profile, and it looks like a layer cake. But that really helps people feel confident that they're making the right decision and empower them to make strong financial decisions and feel comfortable with it.
Right. So
it's a lost art these days, I think. I think a lot of times I'll go to tax conferences and you'll see a tax attorney get up there and talk about the most complicated strategy. You might use that strategy once in 25 years in business. But if you create really simple, straightforward strategies that someone can implement every day, I think you go a long way, a much further way to helping a client change their overall life.
Yeah. What's the old adage? Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah.
So how are you currently getting new clients?
Most of our clients come from client referrals or from, we call them centers of influence, people like you. Other accountants that we have a good relationship with. We have a really good relationship with a lot of estate planning attorneys. We have a great relationship with a business insurance firm who, does workers' comp and business benefits. So those are the types of places that we get. So we like to hang out with people that are working with business owners. And another now that I'm thinking about this, if I could go back in time to tell myself another thing is work with clients that you like first, and that make them good clients second from a revenue perspective. So, we surround ourselves with centers of influence like those accountants and attorneys and that insurance firm because we like each other. If you took the business out of it, we would still have a relationship. Yeah. So I think being able to have a really good relationship, I could go play golf or have a beer with one of the accountants or the attorney, and we might not even talk about business. So that makes your job a whole lot more fun when you can set things up like that.
So with COVID, how has that changed your business?
Yeah, I remember on March, I think it was 14th, 2020, I was in Best Buy with our marketing director buying laptops for people. Last February 2020, 98% of our meetings were face-to-face. And within 1 month, 99% of them have been on Zoom. We were doing some Zoom meetings, but I think the virtual meeting is actually incredible. I think even when we come out of this and maybe we go back to our office, we will go back to our office. I'm in my basement of my house right now. We do think that we will have a large percentage. I don't know if it's going to be 50-50, but it might be more 60-40 Zoom versus in person, because people don't want to get in their car, drive downtown, that whole thing. So I think the one huge advantage is it forced us. We were pushed off of a ledge and we were forced to become virtual quickly. And it's amazing how well we've done with it. It has become seamless. I haven't seen my business partner in person in like 6 months. And I talk to him every day. It's usually over Teams or on Zoom or something, but it has become a huge, and it actually, I think, really takes the restriction of having clients geographically close to you.
Right.
There's nothing to stop us. I had a call with a woman last week who's looking for an advisor, and she lives in California. And we could give her the exact same experience that we could if she were in our office now, and we weren't equipped to do that. So I think that is by far the most positive thing.
What question have I not asked you that you wish I would have asked?
I think the one thing that people always love to talk about is where's the best place to put their money. So I call those cocktail party portfolios.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think most of those don't exist. I think the secret sauce for investments it doesn't exist. I think you have to use a football analogy, you have to create blocking and tackling for portfolios. That has to be the basis of your offense. Then you can have some where you're throwing the ball down the field 15, 20, 30 yards. But I think the one thing that people get disappointed when they see us is I don't have a secret sauce that's going to make someone tons and tons of money. And I always say to them, if I knew the answer to that, do you think I would be actually having this meeting right now? I would be, Elon Musk as far as my net worth is concerned. Right. So it is one of the things that helping clients stay focused on their goals may not be, the sexiest thing to do, but it is the right thing to do. And it's the thing that will help them the most in the long run, and really helping them change their behavior versus pick a stock that's going to have triple-digit returns for 5 years. One of the things that we love to do in those annual review meetings is we love to show clients how their net worth has built over the years working with us. Our goal is to build their net worth, whether it be through savings, investment, buying a business, real estate. We don't care how they do it. We want to help them do it, but we love laying out, hey, when you hired us in 2014, your net worth was 1.4 million. Now it's 7, because we put in all these different strategies for you. Right. We take a lot of pride in that. So I think, that would be how I'd answer that question.
So if the listeners want to talk to Brian or RiversEdge, how can they reach out to you guys? Where can they learn more about you?
I think the best place would be go to our website. It's RiversEdge Advisors, all one word.com. And I also have a podcast for business owners. So if you have clients that are interested in learning about how other business owners have gone through the trials and tribulations of it, it's happy-half-hour.com. And we talk to other business owners just like you're doing, Gary. So this is a pretty cool thing for me to be on the other side.
Great. So Brian, we really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Great wisdom for us. Our guest today was Brian Carney with RiversEdge Advisors, LLC. Thank you very much.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.